March 27th, 2023, a federal indictment comes down in a Washington state federal courthouse. It was after a years-long investigation into a drug trafficking operation with ties to a white supremacist prison gang known as the Aryan Family. The Anti-Defamation League says the white supremacist group was founded in 1993 within the Washington state prison system. As the indictment and the raids and everything got handed down, federal agents seized nearly 2 million doses of fentanyl, more than 200 pounds of methamphetamine, and more than 200 guns. 27 people were indicted by that federal grand jury for drug trafficking, and it was discovered that, yes, many of those in the indictment were tied to the Aryan Family. Among those indicted was the group's leader, a man by the name of Jesse James Bailey, 39 years old, from Stillicum, Washington. Even more shocking, Jesse James Bailey's wife, a former Washington state prison guard, Candace Bailey, who was fired following an investigation into their relationship. The Aryan Family has an estimated 200 members in Washington state prisons, and before last week's takedown, during that year-plus-long investigation, law enforcement seized a total of 830,000 fentanyl pills, 5.5 pounds of fentanyl powder, 223 pounds of methamphetamine, 3.5 pounds of pure heroin, 5 pounds of cocaine, and almost $500,000 in cash, and 50 firearms. This is just another example of the strong tie between prison gangs, street gangs, and massive drug trafficking operations. It also came out in the indictment that the Aryan Family, and in particular Jesse James Bailey, had a strong connection to the Sinaloa drug cartel in Mexico.
A massive amount of drugs, guns, and money seized in a multi-state bust in Washington and Arizona. 27 people now indicted after a long investigation into connections between a white supremacist prison gang and Mexican cartels. Correspondent Nancy Liu is live. Nancy, this drug trafficking ring was under investigation for 2 years.
That's right, Nicole. It's quite a big bust. A blitz of arrests began over a week ago with 24 people taken into custody, and the search is on for 3 more. It follows an extensive investigation which uncovered what may be a growing partnership between the powerful Sinaloa cartel and a white supremacist prison gang known as the Aryan Family.
Officers seized an incredible amount of illegal drugs.
The haul included nearly 2 million doses of fentanyl, enough to kill everyone in Seattle and Tacoma, along with 500,000 more. These are most of the 27 indicted, with alleged links to the Aryan Family prison gang and Sinaloa cartel. They are arrested in Washington and Arizona after a sweep by federal and local law enforcement. Many of the defendants had already served time within the Washington correctional system, which is where the plotting allegedly started.
And it was during those prison sentences that many of these defendants became connected with each other through their involvement in the Aryan Family prison gang and other gangs, all under the umbrella of white power and white supremacy.
The alleged leader is 39-year-old Jesse James Bailey of Stillicum, Washington. He's accused of being a principal organizer, establishing ties between the Aryan Family and the Sinaloa cartel in order to distribute drugs throughout much of Washington state and Arizona. There are also links to Alaska and Nevada. During the operation, agents secretly seized drugs and equipment, leading to some reassurance about the integrity of their investigation.
The wiretap revealed that these gangsters believed that they were robbed by other people and did not know that they were being surveilled by law enforcement. They even had the audacity to report some of these seizures as thefts to law enforcement.
The operation also hauled in more than 200 firearms, most of them AR-style weapons, which authorities say were bound for Mexico in exchange for drugs. Greed and power are apparently driving more collaboration between white supremacists and cartels.
These criminal relationships are ruthless, calculating, and they do not care who they harm.
Now, the Washington DOC confirms to News Nation that the wife of Jesse James Bailey is among those arrested in the sweep. Candace Bailey is a former corrections officer who resigned as authorities investigated her links to an inmate and the Aryan family. Nicole?
Oh, wow. Yeah, certainly an interesting case here, Nancy. Okay, thank you.
New at 6, we are getting a sobering firsthand account of what the city of Seattle is up against in its efforts to clean up downtown and stop the flow of deadly fentanyl. Mayor Bruce Harrell unveiled his plan to do just that earlier this week. We asked KOMO's Jeremy Harris to look at how fentanyl is impacting downtown Seattle. He's live with this Project Seattle report tonight. Jeremy?
Yeah, today King County recorded its 400th overdose death of the year. The data is shockingly bad, but it only tells part of the story about the situation here in Seattle with fentanyl and the mayor's promises to fix it. This corner newspaper stand at 3rd and Pike once sold papers to office workers. Now they pass out Narcan to drug users.
It don't bother me.
Yeah.
I'm open about it.
Travis Hudson agreed to let us film him as he and his friend smoked fentanyl in the window of the downtown Ross. Do you want to get into rehab?
I do, and I want to do more than just this because I'm capable of doing more than this.
He said he's been offered rehab before, but keeps coming back to fentanyl. As Travis sits out as high on a street corner, sirens and flashing lights swarm in as someone else is overdosing in an alley. Paramedics did CPR for 15 minutes, then called it. The white sheet went on, the crime tape went up. This is the routine tragedy that Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell says can still be fixed. The mayor says he wants law enforcement to disrupt the downtown drug trade, but cops are already here and have been. We watched as a transit cop cleared an entire block today. As soon as he left, the public drug use continued.
It's absolutely out of control. I mean, I'm appalled at my city.
The mayor also says he wants more help for those who survive an overdose, a facility where users can be taken and connected to rehab. Cost and location still to come. Do you have faith that the mayor can fix this?
I would hope so.
Spend a day downtown and this is what you'll see. Talk to the people here. They'll tell you they hope the mayor can do what he's promising.
I pray for the city. It's savable, definitely savable.
Now, part of the mayor's plan also calls for the fire department to expand their overdose program. His vision there would be when somebody does survive an overdose, that they would be able to be taken to a center, given access to treatment, and there would be follow-up care from those same paramedics who would treated them for the overdose. Mayor says more details of his plan are going to be rolled out over the next few months as well. Reporting live in Seattle, Jeremy Harris, KOMO News.
Gut-wrenching stuff, Jeremy. Thank you. The opioid and fentanyl crisis will be the subject of tomorrow's meeting of the King County Board of Health. Experts will discuss recent overdose trends, who is the most at risk, and how to fight the crisis. Last year, there were 712 deadly fentanyl overdoses in King County, compared to 385 a year before.
A regional drug ring with ties to a white supremacist prison gang has been busted by federal agents. U.S. Attorney Nick Brown announced the arrest of more than 20 people today, with more than 1.9 million doses of fentanyl and over 230 pounds of methamphetamine taken off the streets. Additionally, agents seized more than 225 guns and firearm parts.
Last week, the United States Attorney's Office indicted 27 defendants who are each alleged to have participated in a drug distribution scheme involving principally fentanyl and methamphetamine, and many of the defendants are alleged to have been connected with the Aryan Family prison gang. The indictments came at the end of a years-long investigation conducted via federal wiretap, led by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and my office, and represents a really significant victory in our ongoing effort to keep our communities safe.
Various state and local agencies also took part in that investigation.
Good morning.
Local, state, and federal officials gathered in Tacoma this morning to announce a major victory.
I'm extremely proud to say thank you to our state, federal partners. We needed this, and we appreciate our partnership with you. Thank you.
Agents seized massive amounts of drugs, guns, and money last Wednesday in a multi-state takedown operation in Washington and Arizona.
Indicted 27 defendants.
U.S. Attorney Nick Brown says the operation was the result of months of investigation into a drug ring with connections to the Aryan Family, a white supremacy group active in Washington state prisons. Brown called the operation significant.
Approximately 1.9 million doses of fentanyl and more than 230 pounds of methamphetamine.
Acting DEA Special Agent Jacob Galvin says that's enough fentanyl to kill everyone in Seattle and Tacoma and poison an additional 500,000 people. U.S. Attorney Brown said he's not only concerned with the drugs coming from Mexico, but the guns that are going to Mexico. Brown says 225 firearms were seized throughout the course of this investigation. Robert Hammer of Homeland Security says many of those weapons could have made their way to Mexico to land in the hands of cartels. Brown says that's unacceptable.
To see all these weapons, as Special Agent Hammer said, go down to Mexico, where the cartels are engaged in daily violence and people are dying on a daily basis, and knowing that those weapons are principally coming from the United States of America is a significant problem that we have to address.
Tacoma Police Chief Avery Moore says this kind of collaboration with federal authorities is vital in combating crime.
Just because you can't see what's going on doesn't mean nothing's going on. We are constantly committed to our goal to make this city the safest in the country. And this is one step towards that.
Now, 3 of the 27 people that were indicted are still wanted by authorities, and anyone with any information is encouraged to get in contact with their local police department as soon as possible. Live in downtown Tacoma, Lionel Donovan, King 5 News.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Greenlit Gang TV. Appreciate you guys checking out the channel. Much love, much appreciation. As always, it means a lot that you guys are running up the views, running up the comments, running up the likes, and you know, the kind of content I do, it garners and it brings out a lot of emotion in people. And, you know, I just want everybody to know that I am human. So you're going to see comments and things that I do that I will respond to people, and I'll get into it with guys back and forth. I'm human. There are things I'm going to jump back on or push back on. You know, if somebody tells me I don't do my research, yeah, I take offense to that because I feel like I put a lot of time into this stuff. But I just want you guys to know that I appreciate the engagement one way or the other. I can handle it. I take things mostly on the chin, always trying to be better. I know I've got information wrong in videos. I know I've put up pictures that were wrong. You know, I get it. I'm not making excuses, but, you know, like I said, I'm human. Work a full-time job. There's times I'm trying to crank out a video in between, you know, a break or something. And, yeah, I've uploaded something and missed something. It absolutely happens. But regardless, you guys continue to watch. You guys continue to support. It means a ton. So today we're going to be going to Washington State with it, covering a really interesting case. The reason I thought it was interesting was a couple things. One, it involved a much smaller, lesser-known white supremacist prison gang known as the Aryan Family, first developed in 1993. But the amount of drugs that they were trafficking. So this indictment got handed down at the end of March. So March 27th, 2023, when it came down, it said, you know, and I kind of mentioned in the intro, a years-long investigation. Sounded like, I'm sure it was, you know, but basically it was really over a year that the feds were really going after these guys with the help of the state authorities as well. And the amount of drugs that they were pulling off the streets was crazy. So before the takedown, in that year that they were really investigating the drug ring that the Aryan Family was tied up in, it said law enforcement seized 830,000 fentanyl pills, 5.5 pounds of powder, fentanyl powder, 223 pounds of meth, 3.5 pounds of heroin, 5 pounds of coke, and almost $500,000 in cash. 27 people end up getting indicted in this. The day of the indictment, it's more than 200 guns, over 200 pounds of meth total. And the number that, like I said in the intro, that obviously sticks out and did stick out when I first started researching is 2 million doses of fentanyl. And I will say this, I believe the fentanyl crisis is the absolute worst drug epidemic this country has ever faced. As a recovering opiate addict, I missed the fentanyl boat. So I'm in my early 30s. When I began using at around 18, 19, there was no fentanyl on the street. There was, but there wasn't. So when you bought a pill, when you bought whatever, you were getting what you asked for. Obviously, people got ripped off, but I'm talking about when you would get, you knew of somebody, right? You got a plug. Okay, this is what I want. Thank you. Got it. Take it. Snort it. Whatever. You knew what you were getting. There was never a thought of, geez, are these fake? That never happened. And I was a long time user. I was a very hardcore user. I had no off switch. And just like any of you know with the opiate addiction, once you are addicted, you physically need it, and you mentally, your brain chemistry changes, and your brain then needs it, and it is insidious. It is like a cancer, and it will absolutely overtake your life. Not that other addictions won't, they absolutely will. I have many friends addicted to other substances, and it absolutely destroyed their lives. But there's something about the opioid addiction that is just freaking scary. So then fentanyl hits, okay? And it's just a whole nother level. And all of a sudden, friends and people I know are dying. And it's like, wait, what? Wait, how? He took a pill. Wait, what do you mean, one? Well, yeah, but it was fake. It was a fentanyl pill. It's like, what the hell, So now, here we are and this is why we talk about drug epidemics. So people of color, or African-American people in general, right? You had the crack epidemic that came crashing down in the communities in the 80s. And what it did was it absolutely targeted, and these war on drugs that Reagan and this 80s thought process of just say no, it absolutely targeted people of color. And it was these drug get tough on crime, get caught with a small amount of cocaine and get 10 years minimum, 20 years. There were awful drug laws. They were draconian drug laws that 100% affected people of color. They ruined families. But that drug, crack cocaine, 100% destroyed lives, destroyed generations of families. But it's kind of known as, and white people were using it, everybody was using it, right? But cocaine, before crack hit, you had cocaine. It was known as a rich person's drug. It was known as a white person's drug. Everybody was using it, but it was a white person's, rich person's drug, okay? Once the freebasing, once the crack hit, it became dirty, okay? Because people of color were using it. And it was so racist. It was so wrong. And a lot of people got rich off of it, though. A lot of money was getting made. And then it came out that now the CIA and the government is flooding, the streets of their own country with drugs. And we still don't know the full story on that to this day, 30, 40 years later. But the point is, as bad as that was, I think with the fentanyl epidemic, it's worse. Because I believe fentanyl, there is no racism to it. It wipes out everybody. It affects everybody. Rich, poor, middle class, black, Hispanic, white, Asian. Does not matter. It'll kill you. And it takes such a small amount of it. And it's not natural. It's manufactured in a lab. And they give the 100 times stronger than street heroin, 10 times stronger than this. It's just awful. So with this story tied back to the Aryan family, and that's why the federal government, says, and I believe it. Okay, I don't believe everything the federal government says at all, but I do believe this. That's why they're going after these gangs like the Aryan family so hard. It's because when you see 2 million doses of fentanyl, yes, that's for the media. Yes, that's to make a big splash and hey, look how good we're doing. Look how good we're doing our jobs. Regardless of whether you agree with the government or not, or see the police as a good thing or a bad thing or just a necessity, that's a ton of fentanyl. And even I will go as far as to say, I'm sure that saves people's lives. 50-some firearms, heroin, methamphetamine, the usual. And that's what these, just like every other prison/street gang, the Aryan family, that's how they're going to make their money. And that brings us to, the leader of this, and the second part that made this really interesting for me. So the leader, the person that in this operation, in this case that the government was really looking at, was a guy by the name of Jesse James Bailey. And he was 39 years old. And he was a big dog. He was a big dog in this Aryan family. You could call him a shot caller. He actually married a gal by the name of Candace Bailey, okay? And Candace, this is crazy, okay? Candace was a Washington State Department of Corrections officer. And yeah, she ends up obviously during a investigation into all of this, she's fired. She gets indicted, and it just was like, wow, and she's, for obvious reasons, helping her now boyfriend, husband, whatever, move these drugs through the prison and all over the state. He was from a little town in Washington called Stillicum, Washington. And what ends up happening is a total of 27 individuals get indicted. 24 had been arrested at the time, and 3 were still wanted. And they're all from around the surrounding areas. They're all, Burbank, Tukwila, Tacoma, Seattle, Puyallup, Burien, and kind of reading about these places and all that. It's kind of all within the same side of the mountains in Washington State. You've got Eastern Washington, Western Washington. But yeah, a very large group and a pretty large amount of people for a small group. I'm not saying all of the people, they're saying that only about 200 members of the Aryan family. Then you've got 27 people getting indicted. Well, that's like, I don't do the math on that. That's a pretty large percentage, but don't get me wrong. I'm sure not all 27 members that got indicted were actually formal, verified, validated members of the Aryan family. A lot of them were associates as well. So, it was a big operation. Now, the other part of this is the kind of guns that these guys were running. I'm watching the videos of this. These are heavy-duty assault rifles. These are, they were getting their hands. Jesse James Bailey was getting his hands on the real deal Holyfield, man. No joke. They were, for a small group, they were really doing their thing. I was trying to do research. I didn't know if they were affiliated with any other larger prison gangs. From what I could see, they weren't, but I thought it was really interesting. And you see this all the time, right? You see the corruption in the prisons. You see this corruption at the, the state level. And, once Jesse James Bailey got that Candace Bailey as his girl, oh my God, that just takes him to a whole other level and how he can operate and run things. And at the end of the day, make more money on a whole another level. It's pretty crazy. So anyway, there you guys have it. Much love, much appreciation. Thank you guys for checking out today's video. This month, the goal is to bring you guys over 20 videos. I've been hanging around 17, 18 a month. I'm trying to get that number up by about 4 or 5. Wish me luck. I love doing this for you guys. Until next time, peace.